Welcome to your favorite channel, where real stories of love, betrayal, and shocking twists unfold before your eyes. Today, we dive into one of the most explosive sagas in the world of 90-Day Fiancé. This is the story of Daniel and Lisa. What began as a promise of a golden future quickly turned into a nightmare. Daniel painted a picture of success, a thriving business, wealth, and a life filled with security. Lisa, blinded by trust and love, handed over $600,000 to fuel his dream. But behind the curtain of ambition, secrets were growing. Late-night calls, hidden messages, and unexplained absences slowly began to reveal the truth. Lisa's world collapsed when she discovered Daniel's secret. Not only was he involved with another woman, he was planning to marry her. From betrayal to courtroom battles, this is more than just a love story gone wrong. It is a warning about trust, deception, and strength. Stay with us as we unfold this powerful journey, chapter by chapter, only on VivaFlex M. Daniel was charming and ambitious. He had a way with words and could easily convince people to believe in his vision. When he first met Lisa, he spoke about dreams that were larger than life. He wasn't just offering love. He was offering a future filled with success. His promises were not small. He talked about wealth, power, and a life that seemed straight out of a movie. Lisa, a woman who always believed in love and partnership, was drawn to him. Daniel described a business opportunity that would secure their future and place them among the elite. He spoke about busy offices, international deals, and endless streams of income. Every word sounded confident and carefully planned. Lisa believed she had found not just a partner, but a visionary. She admired his confidence and his ability to make the impossible sound possible. Friends warned her to be careful, but Lisa was already deeply in love. She didn't see Daniel as a risk. She saw him as her opportunity for a better life. The dream felt exciting and powerful. They spent long nights discussing plans, sketching ideas, and imagining the empire they would build together. With every conversation, Lisa's trust grew stronger. Daniel's charm was irresistible, and his promises felt real. But while everything seemed perfect on the surface, cracks were already forming. Daniel's ambition was real, but so were his secrets. Lisa believed she was walking into a bright future, but in truth, she was stepping into a storm of betrayal that would soon take over her life. Lisa always believed love was built on trust, and she trusted Daniel completely. His words were convincing. His plans seemed flawless. His vision felt like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Daniel didn't just talk about profits. He talked about standing side by side in the future, respected and successful, living a life of comfort and abundance. One night, during a long conversation, Daniel asked Lisa to take a leap of faith. He needed her support emotionally and financially. The amount he asked for was shocking, $600,000. For most people, that number would be impossible to consider. But Daniel's confidence made it sound like a smart investment instead of a risk. He promised that every dollar would multiply and that her belief in him would lead to success beyond her imagination. Lisa struggled with the decision. Her friends and family were shocked and warned her not to give away such a large amount without guarantees. But Lisa's heart was already committed to Daniel's dream. To her, the money wasn't just savings. It was proof of her belief in their future. With trembling hands and a hopeful heart, Lisa transferred the $600,000. She imagined the empire they would build, the life they would enjoy, and the happiness waiting ahead. Daniel thanked her again and again. He told her she had made the right choice, and that together they were unstoppable. For Lisa, it was more than an investment. It was a leap of faith into the arms of the man she loved. She ignored her doubts and pushed aside the warnings. But she didn't realize that this decision would mark the beginning of her downfall. The $600,000 was not building a business. It was feeding lies, secrets, and a betrayal that would soon shatter her life. At first, everything looked convincing. Daniel confidently showed her documents, charts, and even blueprint designs for the empire they were supposed to create. He claimed offices were preparing to open, contracts were ready, and investors were interested. Lisa felt comforted. She believed her money was working toward their future. Weeks turned into months, and things began to feel strange. The big office Daniel promised never appeared. The meetings he claimed to attend were vague and lacked details. Whenever Lisa asked for updates, Daniel responded with smooth but empty explanations, delays, market shifts, confidential negotiations. Lisa tried to stay patient. She told herself that large projects take time. But the silence grew louder. There were no employees, no signed contracts, no visible progress. It felt as though the $600,000 had simply vanished. Daniel began to change. He was no longer the passionate dreamer who once spoke excitedly about their future. He became distant and hard to reach. Calls went unanswered. Messages were returned hours later, sometimes days later. Slowly, he started pulling away from Lisa's life. Lisa struggled between trust and doubt. She wanted to believe that the man she loved was still working hard to make their dream real. But the signs were clear. Daniel's plans did not include a business, an empire, or even a shared future. Lisa was beginning to see the truth behind the illusion. She had invested her money into something that was never real. Despite trying to hold on to hope, the reality was becoming impossible to ignore. The business deal had never existed. It was a carefully planned scheme designed to earn her trust and take her money. As the truth slowly surfaced, Lisa realized she had not invested in a future. She had invested in a lie. And as the weeks passed, she began to notice small details that confirmed her worst fears. Lisa began to notice clear changes in Daniel's behavior. The man who once spoke lovingly about their future every night now seemed distant, distracted, and secretive. He used to leave his phone on the table without worry. Now he guarded it carefully, as if it held something precious. When Lisa asked about the late-night calls, Daniel said they were business matters or urgent talks with investors. But the excuses felt darker each time. He started leaving the house at strange hours, saying he had meetings or sudden problems to fix, yet he never showed any proof. Lisa felt deep inside that something was wrong, but her heart did not want to accept it. She wanted to trust him. She wanted to believe that the man she had given her love and money to was still the same person. Then came the messages. When she asked about them, Daniel became defensive. He said they were harmless, but his quick answers, the nervous look in his eyes, and the way he hid his phone told a different story. Lisa could no longer sleep peacefully. She replayed every promise, every conversation, every moment of trust in her mind. The dream of building a powerful business was fading, replaced by fear and doubt. She began to feel like a stranger in her own relationship as Daniel slowly drifted into a world she could not see. Her friends noticed her worry. They asked if she was okay, if Daniel was truly the man she believed him to be. The shadows were no longer just in the night. They followed her during the day, making it hard to focus or think clearly. Lisa did not yet know that these signs were clues. Daniel was living a secret life, a life that would soon crash into hers with painful force. The calls, the disappearances, and the hidden messages were pieces of a puzzle that would soon reveal the truth. One night, while Daniel was out at another so-called meeting, Lisa's curiosity overcame her fear. He had left his phone behind by mistake. With shaking hands, she picked it up. What she found shattered her heart. Among the messages were long conversations with a woman from Nigeria. The tone was deeply personal. There were loving words, promises of a shared future, and plans that clearly did not include Lisa. Each message felt like a sharp blade cutting through the trust she once held so tightly. She scrolled through photos, voice notes, and call logs. There was no doubt. Daniel was not casually talking to this woman. He was fully involved in a secret relationship that had been going on for months. Now everything made sense. The late-night calls, the sudden absences, the locked phone. Her heart pounded as she understood the full truth. Daniel had not only betrayed her emotionally, he had used her money to support a life she knew nothing about. The $600,000 had not built a business empire. It had helped him live a double life. The most painful discovery was a message about the future. Daniel was not just dating this woman. He planned to marry her. The date was already set. Plans were being made. And Lisa was no longer part of his story. Tears blurred her vision as the reality sank in. The man she trusted with her heart and her savings had lied to her. Every promise and every dream had been false. At that moment, Lisa's world collapsed. Daniel's relationship was not a simple mistake. It was a commitment he had chosen without her. The storm she had feared had finally arrived. She could not stay silent anymore. Armed with undeniable proof, messages, photos, and wedding plans, Lisa prepared to confront him. She was waiting when Daniel returned home that night. Her eyes burned with anger. She held the phone tightly in her hand. "Who is she?" she demanded. Daniel froze, shocked by her tone. He tried to laugh and call her paranoid, but Lisa refused to back down. She showed him everything, the calls, the sweet messages, the wedding plans. With each piece of evidence, Daniel's excuses became weaker. First, he claimed it was business. Then he said it was a misunderstanding. But the truth was clear. The argument exploded with emotion. Lisa's voice shook as she told him he had betrayed her love and stolen her money to build a future with another woman. Daniel had nowhere to hide. The lies were exposed. Neighbors heard the shouting. Lisa's heartbreak was no longer private. It spilled into the night, marking the end of a relationship built on deception. Daniel could no longer deny it. The proof was undeniable. That fight ended their love story forever. Lisa's life felt destroyed, but something inside her was growing stronger. The betrayal was painful, but she refused to let it define her. In the days that followed, their home became silent. Conversations turned into arguments, and arguments turned into cold distance. Lisa could not look at Daniel without seeing betrayal. Every memory felt poisoned. Every promise felt empty. Daniel stopped trying to explain himself. He avoided eye contact. He seemed like a shadow of the man she once knew. The lies had destroyed the love that once connected them. Lisa's heart was broken, but her spirit would not allow her to stay down. She understood that the relationship could not be repaired. Once trust is broken, it cannot be fully restored. Her friends and family surrounded her with support. They reminded her of her strength. Slowly, Lisa realized that although Daniel had taken her money and broken her trust, he could not take her dignity. The end of the relationship was painful, but it became a turning point. It was the moment Lisa chose to rise instead of fall. Daniel and Lisa's love story was over, but a new chapter was beginning. Lisa was no longer the woman who trusted blindly. She was becoming someone stronger, someone ready to fight for justice and reclaim her self-respect. Her journey did not end with heartbreak. It was only the beginning of a battle that would move from private pain to public action. Then Daniel delivered one final blow. On a bright April morning, he made a shocking announcement on social media. He was going to marry his Nigerian fiancé. The wedding date was set for April 20th. The post was bold and unapologetic. The news spread quickly. Friends, family, and even viewers who had followed their story were stunned. For Lisa, it was not just heartbreak. It was public humiliation. With one announcement, Daniel erased her from his life completely. Her phone would not stop ringing. Messages of shock and sympathy poured in. Some people questioned if it was real. Others tried to comfort her. But every message reminded her of the truth. Daniel had chosen another woman without regret. He spoke publicly about love and destiny with his new partner. He ignored the criticism and the accusations of betrayal. For him, it was a celebration. For Lisa, it felt like another knife to the heart. Because the betrayal was public, she could not hide her pain. Everywhere she went, people knew. Her private heartbreak had become public news. But Lisa refused to stay silent. The announcement did not just end her relationship. It strengthened her determination. She had lost her trust, her savings, and her pride. But she would not lose her voice. Daniel's betrayal was now public, and Lisa was ready to make her fight for justice just as public. The wedding announcement was the final straw. For Lisa, the betrayal was not only emotional. It was financial, public, and deeply humiliating. She had given everything, her love, her trust, and $600,000, believing in a shared future. Now she was ready to fight to get her life back. She had given everything, her love, her trust, and $600,000, believing in a shared future. Now, she was ready to fight to get her life back. At first, the pain was overwhelming. Some mornings, Lisa could barely get out of bed. The memories replayed in her mind like a movie she could not pause. The laughter, the late-night planning, the promises of success. All of it felt fake now. But slowly, the sadness began to turn into something else. Anger. Not the kind of anger that destroys you, but the kind that pushes you to stand up. Lisa realized that if she stayed silent, Daniel would move on without consequences. He would marry, celebrate, and enjoy a life funded by her sacrifice. That thought gave her strength. She started by gathering everything: bank transfers, text messages, emails, voice notes, screenshots of his wedding announcement, and copies of the business plans he once showed her. She organized every piece of evidence carefully. If Daniel thought she would simply disappear, he was wrong. Lisa contacted a lawyer. Sitting in that office for the first time was emotional. She had to explain how she trusted him, how she transferred the money, how the business never existed, and how he secretly planned a wedding with another woman. The lawyer listened carefully. When she finished, there was silence. Then came the words that changed everything. "You may have a case." For the first time in months, Lisa felt a small sense of hope. The lawyer explained that if the money was given under false promises, if Daniel intentionally deceived her, it could be considered fraud. The secret relationship, the fake business documents, and the timing of the wedding could all support her claim. This was no longer just heartbreak. It was a legal battle. Meanwhile, Daniel continued posting about his upcoming wedding, smiling photos, romantic captions, messages about destiny and new beginnings. To outsiders, he looked happy and confident. But behind the scenes, he was starting to feel pressure. When he received notice of legal action, the tone of his life began to change. The same confidence he once used to charm Lisa was now directed at defending himself. He claimed the money was a gift. He claimed there was no written contract. He claimed Lisa supported his decisions willingly. But Lisa was prepared. She had messages where he clearly described the money as an investment. She had documents he presented as business proposals. She had proof that while asking for her support, he was already planning a future with someone else. The court process was slow. Papers were filed. Statements were taken. Each step forced Lisa to relive the betrayal. But this time, she was not powerless. Friends stood beside her. Family reminded her why she started this fight. Even strangers who had followed the story began showing support online. The public opinion started to shift. People questioned Daniel's actions. They asked how someone could accept $600,000 for a business that never existed while secretly planning to marry someone else. Daniel's wedding, once loudly announced, suddenly became quieter online. The confident posts slowed down. Comment sections filled with difficult questions. As the case moved forward, more details came out. Financial records showed that large portions of Lisa's money were not used for business at all. Travel expenses, personal purchases, transfers that had nothing to do with investment plans. Every discovery strengthened Lisa's case. In court, she remained calm. She spoke clearly. She explained how she believed in love, how she trusted the man she planned to build a future with, and how that trust was used against her. There were moments when her voice trembled, but she did not break. Daniel, once so smooth with words, struggled under direct questioning. Simple answers became complicated. Timelines did not match. His explanations created more confusion than clarity. The image he once carefully built began to fall apart. Outside the courtroom, cameras and reporters waited. What began as a private love story had become a public lesson about trust and deception. But for Lisa, this was not about attention. It was about accountability. The emotional damage could not be erased. The sleepless nights, the humiliation, the heartbreak, those scars would remain. But she refused to let the financial loss go unanswered. As weeks turned into months, something changed inside her. She no longer saw herself as a victim. She saw herself as a survivor. She began speaking openly about financial manipulation and emotional deception. She encouraged others to protect themselves, to ask questions, to never ignore red flags in the name of love. Her pain became a message. Daniel's wedding plans quietly shifted. The grand celebration once promised online became smaller, less visible. Legal stress has a way of changing priorities. The woman he planned to marry was suddenly part of a complicated public story. A story involving accusations of fraud, hidden relationships, and courtroom drama. The fairy tale he advertised did not look so perfect anymore. One day, after a long hearing, Lisa stepped outside the courthouse and took a deep breath. The air felt different, lighter. No matter what the final decision would be, she had already won something important. Her voice, her strength, her dignity. The woman who once transferred $600,000 with shaking hands now stood firm, unafraid to demand justice. She understood something powerful. Love should never require blindness. Trust should never mean silence. And partnership should never come with secrets. This journey changed her,